guys, it's Saturday. You know what that means. It's time for the half hour horror with me, Aaron McLean, and my co-host as usual. Oh, hey, it's Chase. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. I'm excited. We have a great show for everyone today.
We got
Very
a
exciting.
stacked panel, man. There are
We
four
do.
boxes up here. Friend of the show, returning guest, Chris Carlson. Hey, how you doing, man?
How you guys doing today? Happy
Oh,
Saturday.
Happy Saturday. Hope you're staying dry in the torrential downpour that is Los Angeles that I just heard about.
Yeah.
And then today, super special guest. We're really excited because not only are we excited for a movie coming out that he worked on, but also just really excited about his other works. Composer, musician, Blitz Berlin. How's it going, man?
What's up, guys? How you doing?
Really good.
Great.
Thanks for coming on, man. You've done some really cool stuff. Psycho Gorman, The Void,
Yes.
Frankie Frico, all some of our favorite like campy culty classics, but also something that Chase and I, and maybe Chris too. Chris, you can chime in if you're excited about this one as well. The remake of Silent Night, Deadly Night, which is coming out in December, and we are like crazy excited. And you did the music for it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, all of that is true, and a lot of the way that I'll say we a lot. There's three of us in Blitz Berlin, so I'm Martin,
Okay.
and then there's Dean and Tristan, who are my other two bandmates. We played together since high school, and now we make music for movies and stuff. But
Awesome.
the way that we kind of really cut our teeth in switching from doing like punk rock and industrial stuff into movie scores was through Steve Kostansky, was through The Void. Originally, it was our first collaboration with him, and then on to Psycho Gorman and Frankie Frico and Death Stalker and all that stuff. So embracing that, like, I'll call it camp, but it's like a specific kind of camp. It is,
Yes.
as you guys are aware, it's not, I don't know, it's not winking at the camera. It's not like, oh, imagine if we did that. Like there's a real earnestness to that kind of humor. And as you say, with Silent Night, Deadly Night, which is coming up soon, I think it's different tonally for sure. It's not a Kostansky movie. It's wonderful in its own way, but there's also this fine line to walk where like it has to be scary, it has to be gory, it has to have like real moments of fear and excitement. But there is also, it really has to be fun. There has to be moments where it delivers like, oh my God, they're going there, you know? And so that's something that I feel like the school of Kostansky teaches you how to embrace those moments, you know?
That's fantastic. Let's find out a little bit about you, man. So as you said, you came from bands, punk rock, and where did you guys start? What brought you into? How did you meet with Steve to get into that first making a movie?
Yeah, I mean, so we're from Victoria, BC in Canada. So I don't know if you guys know where that is, out on Vancouver Island, basically as west as you can go in the country. And a quiet little town. They say it's the town of newlyweds and nearly deads. So it's a lot of retired folk and a lot of young families. So it's a nice sort of like, I don't know, somewhat peaceful, kind of suburban, kind of boring place to grow up. And so the three of us started our first punk band together in high school. And what that meant, growing up on a little island, is that like you really have to leave to accomplish anything. So you got to tour, you got to go, and you got to find an audience. So we spent, I don't know, the first 5 years of our careers just playing like every little bar you've never heard of across the country, which Canada and the US, which ended up getting us a record deal. And we moved to Toronto, which was like, that's like the big move if you're a small town Canadian, going to the big smoke, as they call it. This big polluted like sellout town or whatever, we thought it was at the time, which represented a real step up in our careers. Sort of. It also represented the band totally imploding at the same time. So we had like a period after moving to Toronto and doing the whole record label thing of having like some soul searching. What are we doing with our careers? What are we doing with music? And right around that time had a fateful meeting in a dog park of all places, where I'll say drummer, because he was a drummer in the band, but Tristan, my fellow composer in Blitz, he had just fostered a dog, was in the process of adopting a rescue from Egypt named Miss Cleo, a dog we love deeply.
Awesome.
And was sitting in Trinity Bellwoods Dog Park in Toronto. If there's any Toronto people listening, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And sitting next to him was a guy, and they struck up a conversation. He had just adopted a dog as well. What do you do? I make movies. What do you do? I make music for movies. Oh shit, I need music for my movie. And that guy was Steve. So,
wow.
Very
insane, isn't it? Just insane.
And it's funny because like,
Serendipitous.
Tristan, as plugged in as he is, he exists in his own little world as well, like not necessarily rubbing up against the film industry in quite the same like obsessive way that I sometimes do. So he was like, yeah, this guy like makes some cool movies. And I was like, Steve Kostansky, because I had just seen Manborg maybe the year previous.
Yes, Manborg, yes.
And was like, oh my God, like whoever this person is, like we could be best friends. Cause like he has exactly the sense of humor that I do and like loves all the same shit and like clearly grew up on, you know, RoboCop and Total Recall and all these wonderful 80s movies that I love. So serendipity kind of brought us together. And then when we first met with Steve, it was kind of that easy because we grew up on all the same movies, loved all the same stuff, could crack the same jokes or make reference to the same like specific, you know, made for TV. There's a movie that came up in one of our first conversations called American Cyborg. Have you guys heard of this movie?
I'm gonna look it up right now.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's I think it's like a sequel to a made for TV. Like it's a deep cut. It's one of those things that'd be like on in the afternoon when you were a kid on TV, and you don't really know the difference. So you're like, oh, this is pretty much RoboCop to me. But then you grow up and you're like, oh, they made this for $10. So that was a movie that we talked about being like, yeah, when he like throws the hubcap and it like decapitates the guy. So we were able to joke and reference shit that seemed, you know, I guess obscure in a way that we clearly had similar childhoods. So from then on, we were lucky enough to sort of become Steve's guys.
This American Cyborg?
Yeah. That's the one. There you go. Look at the beautiful hair of that guy.
This looks amazing.
I don't remember that much of the plot. I mean, clearly it's, you know, it's a ripoff. It's sort of post-apocalyptic. I guess he's a cyborg. I think he finds like, you know, a woman who was carrying like the last child or something. I don't know. It's a lot of exactly what you're seeing here is actually selling it pretty well, to be honest with you.
Oh, this looks great. There's a handful of movies like this. You know, the American Ninja movies, Cyborg.
Sure. Yes.
And this is just trying to it seems like it's just trying to capitalize off that. I love it. So you were a movie fan outside of music. You like movies. Were you a horror fan before you started working horror movies? The fact that you know American Cyborg tells me you're like you at least know you know
the deep cuts.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. The extremely random deep cuts that no one should bother knowing, but yeah, I mean, definitely a huge movie fan. I would say I'd broaden the umbrella, I guess, to the modern phrase of I guess I was like a genre fan, because I don't know if I sought out necessarily like super gory movies when I was a kid growing up on these things, but definitely action and sci-fi and the like. I mean, I had a fateful time when I was, I don't know, in grade 8 or something, where I had strep throat and was super sick, and then my dad, it was one of those like, I remember it like an Amblin film or something. My dad came home with a stack of VHSs that he'd rented of like his favorite movies. And in those VHSs, I shit you not, it was Commando, Big Trouble in Little China, Blade Runner, and beautiful. I think Aliens, something like that. It was just, it was such a spread. And these became, you know, my favorite movies.
Amazing.
Actually, what I just listed is honestly a pretty good spectrum of the stuff I love the most deeply. So
yeah,
that's awesome. So the theme of what we were trying to talk about today is movie music, specifically horror movie music. But we don't have to get, you know, we just want to hear what you like. We want to talk about the movies because we usually make a watch list of subgenres. So, you know, and we've done crazy amount. We have over 80 lists on Letterboxd right now. It's getting crazy. Letterboxd needs a search feature in their lists. But when we talk about music, let's dive in. Let's go around and pick a movie that has, to you, like, man, if you're listening to this, if you got the soundtrack, if you watch this movie, the soundtrack is going to stand out. We'll go around. We'll get to you because we didn't give you the assignment ahead, so you can think about it. I'm sure you got one in your plate though. But Chase, what is one that stands out to you as a movie that just has banging soundtrack? You got to hear it. People love it.
One, I think that is my all-time favorite, and I actually just got to see this film in theaters last month, and there's such a huge difference. Like, I've always loved the soundtrack to this, but there's such a huge difference, and you actually get to sit in the theater and listen to it, and that is the Candyman soundtrack by Philip Glass.
Very nice.
One, probably I think one of the most beautiful one of the most beautiful horror soundtracks, and just the fact that it was all used with a choir, a piano, and an organ, and that's it. But it just sets the tone so well for this awesome film.
100%. It's such a beautiful score, and it totally puts it in a world of its own right off the bat. Where you're like, this doesn't feel like traditional slasher fare or like jump scare focus or something. There's like this haunting, timeless sort of thing. Man, Philip Glass is an all-timer for me too. I love it.
I think
it's very thematic with that film and like what it's dealing with and the topics that, you know, it's a scary movie, but there's a lot of depth to that film.
Yeah, and a lot of sad
people that tons. I mean, that score, I love that score. So good.
And it's one of those, a lot of people tend to put it in the slasher category. The next two films are definitely slash, but this one is definitely more of a gothic psychological horror film. And I think really the score for Philip Glass kind of helps set it apart from other slashers, what people consider like slashers at that time.
100%. It doesn't go for the we're scary. It's melancholy. It's a sad score, but it's also interesting. And I just love that it didn't fall into a pitfall. I'm sure there were some producers like, we need to get some hip hop in here, and they were like, no, that's not what this is about.
Man, right? I mean, like, you can hear that conversation between the suits on a film like that. Be like, we need this sick, like modern fucking, you know, it's and it totally eschews that. I've actually never thought of identifying the movie as gothic for some reason, and that's really smart. That's exactly what it is. It's a modern gothic horror.
Or is it the second one or the third one takes place in Louisiana?
It has that American Gothic going on.
Yeah, the second one, because then it goes totally down that road. Yeah.
Chris, what about you? What is a soundtrack that really leaps off for you?
Well, I didn't even think about this question, to be honest. But the only soundtrack that I actually owned ever that's a horror movie was Scream 3. And I was obsessed with that soundtrack as a kid. When I came up with this idea of horror movie music, I listened to horror movie music pretty much from September to around now, and then it kind of like eases out, and I kind of like put that down for a bit. And that music ranges from scores to soundtracks like Scream 3, and then also music that was made for horror movies, like pop music that was made for horror movies, like shit from Alice Cooper and the Ramones, stuff like that in the 80s. So if we're talking score, I mean, yesterday I was listening to like get ready for this, and the theme from Saw, Charlie Clouser, like dude, like it's such it just immerses you in that world, pretty much like the tension that it builds throughout that whole film. And it's just fantastic. I mean, but then you go back, we were talking about Carpenter's movies, like that dude couldn't do any wrong pretty much with his music. And he quit making movies just to make music. Like that's all he does now.
100%. My favorite thing about the Carpenter scores is the ones that we all know and love that feel like so intrinsically him, and that have that iconic. But then I love when it peaks over in the 90s to being like, I think it's just him and a couple of other dads like jamming in a garage, or, song or something, and it's got that like, here we fucking go, like it's.
Well, that was Big Trouble in Little China. That was,
dude, exactly. Like, that's him singing right at the
end. Yeah, that's his band doing the theme song at the end.
Big Trouble.
You get this later beat when you get to Ghosts of Mars where he's like, I want to play with Anthrax. And so it's just him and Scott Ian just being like, and like, it's a great score for a less than great movie, but like, come on, they're having fun. They're having fun at least. So I give it to him. But yeah, like, he's just like, can you imagine being Scott Ian or somebody from Anthrax or Megadeth and getting a call and be like, hey, it's John Carpenter. You want to come play some music? And they just be like, yes, I do. Oh yeah,
man, absolutely.
Like, so good. All right.
That actually, there's a story that the band Shinedown. So I saw them live 15 years ago, and this isn't a horror film, but they did the theme song for the first Expendables movie, and they said that's exactly what happened. They told the story before they played the song. They said they were just kind of jamming their studio, and they get a call. and it's Sylvester Stallone. Like, hey, I'm making a new movie called Expendables. We do the theme song for it.
I love that Sly listens to Shinedown. Like that is perfect to me. Oh, I love it.
Right? Is it him or is it one of his kids? My kid says Shinedown's really good.
I don't know, man. I feel like Sly, he's got his finger on the Shinedown pulse, I think.
Yeah.
All right, Martin. Up to you. What is one that sticks out for you? What is a great soundtrack?
Well, okay, so I sort of have a twofold answer, because my answer actually off the top of my head isn't horror, so I'll get to that in a second. But the horror answer that for me, this represents a lot of music work in the last year as well, is we've done a lot of work on the Alien Earth show for on the trailer and the campaign side, but working directly with FX on that. We basically, a lot of what they're looking for from us was creating like custom sound design elements and things that like felt natural to the original film, but also like new for these new creatures, and new little music cues that could be associated with like the fly thing or the plant thing, or no spoilers if anybody hasn't seen it. But part of that, what it represented, was being given like the key to the vault on one of my favorite film scores of all time, which is the original Alien.
Amazing.
So they basically just sent us, folders of audio of like every little like computer chirp or like little, face hugger sound or anything that we had license to go in and just like manipulate and use and incorporate into our sounds, or try to like map to a keyboard and make something new out of. So that's a score that I always found to be so scary and so cool and so atmospheric, and it felt like, I don't want to say lo-fi, but sort of, it felt very contained in a way that felt as claustrophobic as the movie does. And then being able to get in and really examine like the DNA of it was like a whole secondary education for us, I think, going through being like, oh, you can just do that, so much of it was just made with analog synths, being like, how do we make this, sound like what the terminal, like the industrial computer terminal of the future might sound like. Even the little clicks and stuff are so part of that world. So that's one of my favorites, and that was a cool way to experience it. However, when you ask me about favorite film scores, for some reason, this is not something I'm necessarily proud of, but for some reason, the one that is like deeply influential to me and I think about way too often is the score to Independence Day.
Why not? Of course. No,
good one.
I love that movie, and rewatching it recently, what I also forgot about is that every cut in the first act of the film has this like explosion sound effect on the cut. It's like, it'll be a cut of the Statue of Liberty and then a closer cut of the Statue of Liberty. And on that edit, there's this every time. Is just nothing is held back. But as a quick little anecdote, when we lived in Los Angeles with our dog, Miss Cleo, she periodically would kill a rat that she would find, but she didn't know what to do with them. So she would just like leave the rat on our porch and sit there very proudly. So we started a tradition where we would honor her service. We'd add a tally to the board, and we would play the theme song Independence Day. That
amazing.
Da, 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 it sounds like the Marines are coming home from war,
Yes.
So anyway, that's
so good.
It's mattered way too much to me through my life, that score.
It's horror adjacent, and I challenge anybody to not watch Bill Pullman give the presidential speech and hear that rise, that swell, and not be like, yes. You're like, how can you not? How can you not be like, I'll get in a plane, Bill Pullman. I don't know how to fly, but I'll fight aliens for you. Like,
apparently, too, there was throughout the legend goes, throughout the whole shooting of the film, the studio was trying to get him to change the title, because I guess there's some crazy licensing thing to clearing the title Independence Day, because that's owned somehow. It would be so expensive, and the way he sold them on it was filming the president's speech and sending them a cut of that, and then the students were like, okay, all right, we got to do it now.
See,
exactly.
And I wonder if that little test footage, I wonder if he put some music in there just to give him the vibes. Like, you have to, when you're pitching on Suits, you got to give him you got to Rickroll him with the vibes. You got to get him so excited.
Man. 100%.
Since we're talking about it, I will mention that era. All the movies had banger scores, because it's like, Zimmer doing a bunch of it. The Rock.
Sure.
The Rock is one of those scores that just gets me every time. Not horror. So for my horror answer, this is one of the, like, if your parents didn't own this album, they were square. I'm so sorry, but this is 1973's Tubular Bells by Mike Odenfield.
Yep.
Every parent born in the 60s had this album because it was a crossover hit. Not only was The Exorcist just just banging this thing out, Tubular Bells is a phenomenal album front to back. I think they were all experiencing it on a little altered level, just saying. But it really fed to how creepy The Exorcist is. The music is like people hadn't heard stuff like that before. It's experimental. Right. It's using instruments nobody had used before. Literally banging on the bells, and it's crazy. It's a great album. It's really weird. It's very cool, but the one song from it that everybody knows is from The Exorcist.
Yeah, that's right. And I feel like there's a case to be made for the kind of like arpeggiated melody that The Exorcist introduced. We would call that now with synths. That's not really what it was at the time, but you know what I mean? Like the sort of faster paced looping kind of notes that is in that theme. You could make a case for that being like the DNA that became so almost a trope in horror themes. That you
definitely
find that within Nightmare on Elm Street. You can find it within Halloween. Like
Halloween,
they all feel like the children of The Exorcist to me.
I mean, I really do feel like the Halloween theme. It does feel like him trying to do a Tubular Bells, even though they were probably being created around the same time. But it has that vibe, and I mean, it also just The Exorcist just wouldn't be the same without that. Very, very scary and creepy.
100%. Totally.
All right, what else we got? Chase, you got another one?
First, before I go to Mike, I have a question for you, Blitz Berlin. Or Martin. So when I did some research on you before the episode, where you did mention earlier you do a lot of trailer music too. You guys actually did the trailer music for Top Gun Maverick. So what was it like working on that? Because that movie was like probably one of the biggest films of this decade so far.
Yeah, it was. Man, that was a wild experience because first of all, the window into doing trailer music in general is like it's so different than narrative score because you never get to see a single frame of what you're working on because everybody is so paranoid about leaks and stuff. So if you live in LA, which we didn't at the time that we started working on that, we were in Toronto. You can sometimes go in here into like the studio and put your phone in like the magnetic box or whatever, and then go in and watch something. So you get a sense, but even living here, that's not always an option. So Top Gun was one of a few trailers that we've done that was not even written out in an email because the guy didn't want to put it in writing. It was read to us over the phone, the script for the teaser.
For the trailer.
So it was literally a guy here who I love deeply, music supervisor, wonderful guy named Angel. He was on the phone with us and he was like, Maverick, you should be a 5-star general by now. Like, why are you still flying? And then like jet flies over the desert low. And like, that's sort of, so that's literally what we had to work on. And then just pulled out every trick in the book. We love the original so much. I feel like that's probably what ended up making us the guys for this. But we just took a very nostalgic approach to it. Or like, this is still Top Gun. This can't just sound like a generic modern thriller. Like we need this like patriotism, but also like a kind of, I don't know, 80s feel to it. So used a lot of synths and a lot of guitars as opposed to just strings and things like that. But we didn't land it. We were kicked off the project. A bunch of stuff I won't get into went very wrong with it. And we spent maybe 6 months being like, I don't know, pretty bitter about it. Just being like, oh man, like that would have been the biggest jobs of our careers. Oh, well, on to the next one. And then like 6 months later, because that was a teaser that had come out, like 6 months later, we get an email from music supervisor that is like one of those immense chains that goes all the way back. That just says, is this your track? And we look down through the chain and it is our original like MP3, like V1 or whatever that we sent through. But it's in an email from Tom Cruise. And it says, use this one. And so this music supervisor is like, first of all, I was like, I don't really want to go down this path because I didn't realize what had happened. And I was like, we felt a little bit burned the first time. Like it was a lot of work. It didn't come through. So she called me and she's like, no, you don't understand. This doesn't happen. Tom Cruise is the guy who has his fingerprint on every single part of a movie that he is on. He is just that guy. He's Mr. Movies. Everything. He's over the director of photography shoulder. He's sitting in the edit. He's thinking about color correction. He's doing it all.
That's Tom.
And one of those things is he's listening to every piece of trailer music is submitted. And I'd like to think it's because we went full nostalgia, like 80s, feeling more like the original film than maybe other composers did. But when he says jump, everybody jumps. So we went from being on the outside, feeling like a near miss, to doing the music for the entire Top Gun Maverick campaign, just because I guess he liked what he heard. So
awesome, dude.
Were you getting notes from Tom Cruise then? Were you ever getting notes that were like, oh, that's probably from him?
To be honest, this is our only interaction with him. We dealt with a producer, a great guy who was the executive producer of the film, and he was sort of passing Tom notes down to us. But no, the only sort of interaction we ever had with the man himself was the email being like, use this. So
that's incredible.
That's amazing.
Thank you, Tom Cruise. Yeah.
Let's switch over to talking about Silent Night, Deadly Night. We do have people asking about it. They're like, tell us what it's about. So how did you get onto Silent Night, Deadly Night? What was it like working with Mike P. Nelson? And I know, NDAs abound. You can't give away too much, but we'd love to hear about Silent Night, Deadly Night. And like working on a new property like this, have you seen the original? And let's just dive into this property. How'd you get on it?
100%, man. Yeah, I mean, originally, to be honest, I think that this came from a cold email. To be totally honest with you, we do a lot of that. To be honest, or we have done in the past. We're pretty aggressive with trying to like meet new people and break in. We very much feeling like outsiders in this business, being small town Canadians. So we have very little shame when it comes to emailing the head of some company and being like, "Hey, let's have lunch." And sometimes they say yes, which is great. With Mike, yeah, I think we sent him a note. He listened to our stuff. He liked it. Silent Night, Deadly Night was not on the table at that point. There was other films that he was working on that we were interested in. And he has a composer who he loves, who he usually works with. But we're like, it doesn't hurt to take the meeting. And then like a month after we had a pretty nice phone call and like a little meet and greet moment, he was just like, hey, so I just got brought onto this thing and the timeline is crazy and the budget is crazy. Can you guys pull this off? And that was Silent Night, Deadly Night. So we were like, wow, sure. Well, we've never done a Christmas movie, but we sort of always wanted to. So let's do it. Yeah. Although, spoiler alert, technically Frankie Freako is a Christmas movie if you watch the whole thing, but it doesn't, not quite the same.
That's funny. That is funny.
Yeah, you know. But yeah. So I mean, at that point, to be totally honest with you, like I was familiar with the original movie, but I hadn't watched them. So that was a crash course in going back and being like, wow.
Did you get past the first? Did you get past the first one?
Honestly, the first one is the one that I watched clips of later ones, but the first one was the one that I paid the most attention to, mainly because the producers of this film are the guys who did are the guys who did.
Wow, really? And
they're not really involved with a bunch of the different sequels, which went all different ways. That first one was their baby. They wrote it, they produced it, and then lost the rights in the 80s and all this stuff over many years, and then managed to regain the rights to it kind of recently. And so they've been the driving force behind getting this made. So they were kind of particular about that too. We're like, we're not involved in the sequels. The first one was our vision. Here's what our vision is for this. So that was really the gospel for us. But yeah, working on the film is great. Again, yeah, I have to be careful what I say. I don't want to spoil anything, but there are, I think what surprised me about it is getting the script and having seen the original and knowing the reputation of the film. I was kind of expecting like just a gore fest or something, especially because like the Terrifier, production companies involved. But what it is it's a script that had like so much heart to it, really had you like rooting for this murderous Santa. And even reading it before any of it was shot, there's a couple of scenes where I was like, kind of blown back in my seat, just kind of being like, oh my God, if they pull this off correctly, this will get a standing O in the middle of the movie, the way that this bit plays out,
Wow.
So there was such moments of hype and excitement right there. So right off the bat, it was like, man, this is a script. Scripts sometimes can be hard to read. Sometimes they're imperfect or they're just not very well formatted or whatever. And it's a bit of a slog to get through them. And you have to really use your imagination. But then there's scripts that you can't put down. You mean to read the first page of, and all of a sudden you're on page 90. Usually a good sign. And that's what this was. So the script that Mike and the guys crafted was that to me. It was so exciting and surprising and had a lot of heart and a lot of genuine character complexity and a bunch of like, fuck yeah moments. So So yeah, doing the music for it was cool because we definitely were given creative license to put our own mark on it. But something that we chose to do right off the bat is to incorporate elements of the score of the original film that felt important. You know, this is
Awesome.
a
Love
sequel,
it.
reboot,
Love
whatever it is. But there's you know, there's a legacy there, and there's certain pieces of music from it that I thought, you know, we could play with and make quite haunting. So maybe I won't spoil exactly what they are, but I think especially if you know the original, you'll spot them right away in the movie. There's a bunch of our original themes, character themes and stuff, but there's a few of these moments that you're like, oh, that's the 2025 version of what Silent Night Deadly Night felt like, or at least I hope. I hope you feel that.
Awesome. Oh, I'm very excited to listen because the original is an annual rewatch.
Hell yeah.
In my household,
obviously.
And actually, I love watching the other ones too because they're just so
schlocky, dude.
It's literally like one of the weirdest horror franchises. So
well, the second one's just the first one again with some added bits.
With some added bits, yeah. The fourth one, you have Bill Moseley with his brain in a jar, and then there's witches, and bugs. That never happened before.
And then there's like an evil toy maker and like a Robo Pinocchio. So,
to be honest, I did not make it that far in my research. I did not get to the witches. That's
Robo Pinocchio with an Oedipus complex. So weird. Yeah. Oh, and it's Mickey Rooney is the creepy toy maker.
That's right. There's a story that Scott Schneid, who's the kind of OG producer guy, was telling me the other night, that I guess when the original came out, Mickey Rooney, for some reason, got on his soapbox about it and made a public statement saying, whoever made this movie, these guys should be run out of town.
People hated it. I mean, not everyone, but a lot of people were very anti that movie. He was one
of them. Then 10 years later, Mickey Rooney does a straight to DVD sequel.
I know.
He needed the money,
to video sequel.
Yeah.
He needed a paycheck.
Hey man, don't we all?
Super amazing. Getting back into some music, and soundtracks. I think it would be remiss if we didn't do an episode like this and talk about one of the greatest bands turned composers, soundtrack makers ever. We got to talk about Goblin, guys.
Yes, that's how this all started.
Yeah, I mean,
this is literally how the episode started. I think it was like sometime last month. Chris, you had sent me an Instagram reel, and it was just Goblin just fucking jamming out to the Tenebrae live to the Tenebrae soundtrack. And you were like, dude, you guys got to do a horror soundtrack.
Yeah. I feel like, we have a lot of horror conversations, a lot of horror podcasters and what have you. And everyone's talking about the movie and the cinematography and the special effects. And no one really talks about the music. Barely. Like, I don't really hear people. Maybe if we're talking about Carpenter, we bring it up just because it's Carpenter. But we're not talking about like
John Williams.
Right. But we're not really discussing like how we got to where we are in horror music, which is like this is always, again, I listen to this stuff pretty regularly, and I'm a film, I went to film school, I work in the industry, so it's like this shit's on my mind. And it's interesting if we go through the timeline of how we got to where we are and why we hear horror music the way we hear it, because the original horror films from like the 30s, like Wolfman, Dracula, and Frankenstein, there was no horror music. It was all just classical music that was just put in place until we get to 1960 and Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho by Bernard Herrmann, who was a guy that Alfred Hitchcock liked to use, and he was a very famous composer. But Hitchcock didn't even want his music like to be part of the film. He wanted it to be background until they did the shower scene, and Bernard did the strings and all everything that we know, and Hitchcock was like, oh shit, this is what's gonna make this film really sell. And everyone, you play that song, or I mean, you want to call it a song, that score, for anybody, everyone knows exactly what is happening in their mind. The imagination goes directly to the shower scene. Doesn't matter what it is. And then we go from 1960s to the 70s, and we hear Jaws, John Williams' Jaws, and we have The Exorcist and Alien in the late 70s, and then we go to The Shining, and like the music has just slowly progressed. But the 80s is like my favorite area because of where then it just blossoms into this just completely different subgenres where we have amazing scores like Nightmare on Elm Street. You have crazy stuff like Friday the 13th, where you have like and
Harry Manfredini.
And everyone knows what that is. Like you play these little stingers for anybody, they might not even have seen these films, and they can know what we're talking about in film. It's just it's a really cool topic that I feel like it's not brought up a lot. And like Goblin, those guys were just like, I think they just randomly met Dario Argento or some shit like that.
He just saw him in a bar. They were like playing. They were playing like at a bar, and he was like,
and then
hey,
they make amazing film or amazing music. Like Suspiria, the score for that is amazing and so creepy and haunting. It's
almost beautiful too.
Yeah,
especially the opening theme. Oh my god! And it sets the tone for the film also. And then especially towards the end, that closing theme that they have, the one with the simps and it goes faster, it just perfectly fits the film. The one going back to actually what started this episode was Chris, the Tenebrae theme, the kind of disco infused sound to it. Like the day after you sent me that reel, like the next day I was driving to work listening to the Tenebrae theme. I love that. And then you have opera, which actually showed you guys before we went on air. I bought the 4K for it, and it's a 5-disc set, and the final disc is actually a CD of the soundtrack. And I just kind of love the whimsical elements of that mixed in with kind of the 80s glam metal sporadically.
Amazing.
It's interesting because it's like, I think even just this style of music, like you have to give huge credit to Ennio Morricone because he's the first guy to put an electric guitar into a film score. Because like you said, it was all classical music. And then Sergio Leone hires Ennio Morricone and he gets that guitar in there. And I think that just ripped the doors off of it. And by the time, you're doing the Italian horror and the Italian spaghetti westerns, they were just like, we got to get weird with it, guys. Like we have to stand out. If you're not going to stand out like in a sea, I mean, we're basically doing ripoffs and remakes anyway, but if we're going to stand out in a sea of all this like content that was coming out from the low budge sector, it's like the music was going to do it. And Goblin often did their first take live. They were watching the movie, jamming out to it, and then would refine it from there. That's
love that.
Have you ever done a live track, Martin?
To be honest, I mean that's kind of how we started doing this too, because that was really the only way that we knew how to make stuff, because we came from a band background, so the very first film that we ever did was a sci-fi movie called Extraterrestrial, and it was the three of us in a room trying stuff. Really is how they came together. And then, we started to realize the inefficiencies in that. And like, there's still an element of that, of jamming to picture with each other, and jamming on ideas is always the first part of our writing process. But trying to just like make your way through the picture, our process has evolved since then, but that is absolutely how we started. And all these great artists you guys are mentioning too, especially these outside the box kind of composers or having bands score these films. I think, as mentioning, having felt kind of like outsiders in the film industry coming from the small town in Canada, as we started to score horror films and especially work with Steve and understand more of like the history and sort of the shoulders of the giants that we were standing on, it kind of made us feel a lot more welcome in this world, being like, oh yeah, we're not just like weird because we're in a punk band and now we're trying to figure this out. I'm like actually coming at this from like a non-traditional and DIY angle, trying to surprise people with sounds and ways to do things is actually kind of a tradition in this genre. So it kind of made us feel, I guess, like we belong. The guys like obviously like Goblin are a big part of that.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, I love it. The Void. Yeah. I mean, you guys nailed it with that. I've just got hats off.
Thanks,
I mean, The Void is just a great movie. That really was one of those. They don't make them like they used to. And then The Void comes out and everybody's like, yes, more of that, please. But it you know, you could definitely feel, you know, a little bit of the Carpenter vibes and a lot of the inspirations, but that lent to just this vintage throwback. Like you said, you guys took and like you did with Top Gun. It's like, this is the nostalgia we know that this movie is trying to invoke, and here's the soundtrack that fits that. You guys nailed it. So good.
Man, I appreciate that. And the funny thing about the Void is that, I mean, we were so new to this, we were doing everything, you know, wrong in terms of how we were getting our sounds and stuff. But a lot of it was like that one was co-directed, right, between Steve Kostanski and Jeremy Gillespie, who are the two of the Astron 6 guys who from Manborg days. They sort of co-directed it together. And Steve, as you see, his taste in the films he's directed solo is kind of unique, and Jeremy's tastes are like much darker and much more sort of messed up. And the big sonic reference he gave us at the time for The Void was Lustmord. Lustmord. It's like,
no, what is this?
Kind of a noise artist. You should check it out. I mean, it's wild because Jeremy will like have coffee like with his partner and their cats on a Sunday morning and put this on, if that paints a mental image for you, because it's like horrifying industrial noise music basically. Like, I want like how this makes me feel so uncomfortable in a way that like, was this music made by humans? That's what I want there you go. That's what I want the score of The Void sound like. So a lot of our original inspiration was like listening to this and being like, well, how the hell would we make that? And then with a lot of band gear, just being like, okay, well, we have this sound we like, but what if we just run it through like all of our distortion pedals before recording it, etc. There's a lot of really base principles kind of experimentation. So The Void was a wild ride because of that. But I feel like it gave the movie a sound. I'm glad you guys like that one.
Yeah, really cool. That is
another
crazy looking at Lustmord. I'm like, yeah, make it like this guy who's spent his entire life and career developing a very specific sound.
Yeah. And in Lustmord's defense, I don't know if we got anywhere close, but it informed some decisions that maybe we wouldn't have made. But yeah, the Lustmord stuff is really cool, man. I highly recommend listening to it if you want to become afraid in your own home.
Yes. One that I actually watched last night in preparation just to listen to the score was actually Psycho Gorman that you guys worked on, and
so good.
I love the soundtrack for it because it has kind of like the campy space B movie feel to it, but it also kind of has like epic like 90s Power Ranger kind of feel to it, and I absolutely just love the different elements that you guys added to
I appreciate it, man. That's probably to this day, we've been fortunate enough to work on a lot of projects that were a lot of fun. The Psycho Gorman might still be kind of like my favorite because it also was one of those perfect moments between like Steve and our fandoms, because combined our favorite movies of all time is the 1990 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. That movie is foundational to me as a person.
So
I
good.
just saw the 35th anniversary of it in theaters, and it holds up. It's excellent. Love it. So good. But there's specific music moments in that film, like the little like thing on like the sort of tuned drums, and then some of these great, very emotional orchestral shifts, but then combined with a bit of this like 90s rock badass sort of feel. So much of that was the marching orders for Psycho Gorman, including, of course, the rap over the credits that describes the plot of the film.
I love a wrap-up rap. I've done many discussions about the best wrap-up raps. Nightmare on Elm Street had a bunch of them.
Oh my God, so
obviously,
good.
Man Behind the Mask
list. If it isn't, this should be what a letterbox list you guys should make, is movies with the best wrap-up raps.
I have a soundtrack on I have a YouTube playlist of them. Yeah, we should put it on, make this another letterbox list. Man Behind the Mask for Friday the 13th Part 6 is one of my all-time favorites. Not necessarily a wrap-up rap. It's not a rap per se.
It's a song.
It's in the genre. I usually use wrap-up rap as a catch-all. It's great when it's actually a rap, but
that's something I've been disappointed by. And with listening to all this music that I listen to, is like, we don't have songs specifically made for horror movies anymore. And it was such a niche in the 80s and 90s. It was so good because it was so schlocky. Like, Man Behind the Mask, yeah, sure, it's a fine song, but when it's like made specifically for Friday the 13th, you're like, oh, this is amazing. Like, this is fantastic. Same thing with the Ramones. Like, they don't want to be buried in a pet cemetery. Like, fantastic.
The
Fright Night. Fright Night has a song. Killer Clowns has a song.
Dickies,
like,
man.
These were like not good, necessarily good movies. Like, they weren't like huge budgeted movies, yet they still got like big artists to make songs because it's just how the 80s and 90s were. Like, anybody would do anything.
There's one that Steve showed me. I wish I could remember more information about it. It's some maybe early 2000s kind of like crime movie or something, but Lawrence Fishburne is in it. I know that for sure because of this, what he pointed out to me, which is that the rapper who did the credit song for it clearly hadn't seen the film, and so is like kind of guessing at what the film might be about, and also doesn't know clearly the character name, so he's saying things like Lawrence Fishburne is on the scene, and like that's the actor's
amazing
name, you know?
Amazing.
I'll have to maybe follow up with you guys. I'll ask Steve what this movie was.
Please, because would love this. Yes,
Chase. We were talking about Toxic Avenger recently, and that was one of my biggest disappointments with the remake. Is that they didn't have the Toxic Avenger song? Like, there is a song made for Toxic Avenger, the original, and it's ridiculous, and it describes the whole movie in song, which is fantastic. And then we have the new one, which is had a lot of money behind it, and fucking nothing. And I'm just like, what is this, dude? Like, what a waste of potential.
Was it they used like a pop song at the end that Jacob Tremblay was dancing to? Like that was like the only, but I don't think that was like an original song. I think that was something they had used.
Martin, that's why I appreciate like you went through Silent Night, Deadly Night's score, and you're using little pieces and leitmotifs for the new film.
100%.
Because that's how it should be done. Like, as a fan, like, I don't want it to be rehashed. I want it updated and like refreshed and like spun in a different way to where I'm like, oh wow, like these are two separate things that are the same, but this one I really fucking like too, just as I like the old one.
I mean, I'm glad to hear you say that because I feel the same way, and that's how we always think about it because we are fans of these properties, and so a lot of it is what would I want to see or hear? If I was going to this, and I wouldn't want a modern movie, whether it's a sequel or a remake, to just use the exact same score, or I wouldn't want it to ignore the original score and try to do something totally new. Like those motifs are so important for me, anyways, to the enjoyment of the film. So. There's a few of these that we've had the pleasure of working on. Tina Romero's Queen of the Dead is another one that we just did earlier this year, and that we got to work with John Harrison and in reviving the Dead Suite, but to make it a much more dancey, gay version of it for which he was very supportive of, which is great. But that was on that film and with Silent Night, Deadly Night, one of our first things was like, if this is a trip down memory lane, as much as it's a new movie, there has to be these moments that feel like they pay off year for, and they give me the feeling of watching that original.
I love hearing that.
And even going back to original songs with Silent Night, Deadly Night, I think I read the story that it was such a low budget that they actually didn't want to use with the original. They didn't want to use the original like Christmas songs already written. They actually wrote Christmas songs just specifically for the movie. And if you go on the comments on Silent Night, Deadly Night's page, every time they post, I always see like at least one or two comments each post, like, please tell me there's going to be an updated version of Santa's Watching, Santa's Waiting. Please tell me there's going to be an updated version of Santa's Watching, Santa's Waiting.
Well, I don't want to spoil anything, but I don't think you'll be disappointed.
Sick.
Music really is.
Yes.
It's a subconscious sort of language beneath the film. You're watching the movie and the music tells you how to feel, and it's subconscious. You don't realize it. It's not, there's nothing about it that draws you in, but when done right, it really is the best compliment, because if you've ever seen a YouTube video where they're like, wrong music, and they swap it out with yakety sax, and you're like, well, that's stupid. It really does change. And I think it's something, as Chris mentioned, that people don't talk about enough, because I think people don't have the language for how to talk about it. It's hard to talk about something that you don't really. I don't know why I felt that way, but when that shower scene went, wham, 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 I got scared. Like and they don't think that it's the music that's driving that, because it might not be. But at the same time, if it's not there, it's completely wrong.
But in the same breath, like if you're not noticing the music, it's doing its job. Because it's supposed to be in the background and not be the focus. And there's definitely some movies where the music kind of overtakes the film and you kind of get lost in the film. So it's definitely a balance that I think, when done right, is fucking amazing. And you know, Jaws is fucking 2 notes, John Williams' theme. That's it. And it's just played in such a way that when you hear it, you know a fucking shark's nearby. Like,
totally.
That is fucking amazing.
If you were to play that at a beach today, everyone would
know.
You
Everyone would know. Like, it doesn't matter what generation you are, you would 100%. Know what's about to happen.
But that balance, honestly, is an ongoing conversation, and something that I think is really important in film. There's the Zimmer school of thought, which he's thought about a lot in a modern context, which is that you should never be thinking about the music in a film. It should always just serve what's on screen, which I totally understand. But also, a lot of my favorite films, as you mentioned, are the ones where you go out and if you hear the melody from it, it takes you right back to the way it felt in that scene.
Right.
Or you're better yet, you're humming it as you're leaving the theater. So find that balance to not, hit people over the head with it, but to give them something that they can come back to without getting in the way of what's happening. That's always the balance.
Well, and something that you said, that it informs the theme too. Like you said, the hero's theme, the villain's theme. That's a very operatic thing. You know, when you hear Flight of the Valkyries, you know what's about to happen. You know what's going down. So there is a little bit of like what that theme is informing, but at the same time, like, it can just wash out the moment if you go too hard.
100%.
Like Saw, I think, is a perfect example of that theme.
Yeah.
Like, like the trap is happening and that person's dead, and like it's like game over. Like, that's what is even said in the score. It's just for me especially, it always just reminds me back to the scenes, which is a good thing and a bad thing. I mean, depends on how you look at it. But when you're watching the movie, especially the first movie, you don't realize like that's what's going to happen post watching the film. And then you hear it again and you're like, oh, you brought right back. And like, that's a kind of a great thing that you can get sucked right back into that moment of the film.
One of my favorite examples of that kind of like just makes you very unsettled and you're not thinking about it even being music at the time would obviously be Texas Chainsaw, which is, such a seminal version of that being, is this music half the time.
That metal screech,
chains and exactly bending metal and stuff, and it is arguably it's the score and it's an industrial approach, but it is it's so effective and it's so unsettling, and like you're not walking out humming the melody of that Saw or something, or that pile of chains, but
it's very unsettling.
Exactly.
Other thing I was going to bring up and talking about music that doesn't fit the film. What is it? Friday the 13th Part 4 with Crispin Glover dancing in the living room.
Oh God!
And it's literally the wrong music. Crispin Glover is dancing to a completely different song that was played for him during the filming, and then they overlaid different music, and he looks like a fucking wacko. Exactly, you guys are doing the dance. And it's just completely wrong music, but it's movie history now, and it's hilarious.
That brings up a really good point. Nothing will yank me out of a movie faster than a needle drop that doesn't fit. So first of all, for those who don't know, a needle drop, there's a difference between a score, which is like created for the movie, and then a needle drop, which is, hey, we got this song in the movie. So it's a modern song.
So the words is a film school nerd. It's called diegetic and non-diegetic music. Diegetic music is music that is taking place within the world of the film, and non-diegetic music is music that's just kind of played as a score or something like that.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And when you recognize the song, I'm trying to think of a movie that did this recently, but like in like they're just blasting some Limp Bizkit, and you like go, these guys, this character likes Limp Bizkit, weird. But it's like it can yank you out, and a lot of movies overuse it. And how do you work with them? How do you feel about needle drops, Martin?
Yeah, I mean, they sometimes can inform the tone of the movie, because a strong choice, like, I don't know, including Limp Bizkit in a film today would be like, okay, I know what this movie is doing. And honestly, that's something Kostanski would do. We've actually talked about I won't spoil anything. We've talked about future projects, and there's a certain charm to that early 2000s, like Evanescence in the Daredevil movie, kind of, new metal era. Everything's so dark and heavy.
Love it.
That we are now, have become nostalgic for over time. But needle drops can really inform an approach to a film. And an example I use recently is Queens of the Dead, because that's a movie which had needle drops in the script and there's specifically one. Have you guys seen the movie? I'm not sure if you've seen this one yet.
I have not seen it yet.
It got like a limited theatrical. It's out on digital now. It's a great movie, but right off the bat, there is a big needle drop of Kesha's blow that like a lot of the beginning is set to, which is such a strong and specific choice, because it's sort of done. I mean, it's done definitely with a sense of humor, but then it's brought back in a very surprising way later in the film. And that, in combination with our conversations with Tina Romero, was there has to be this this line here where like we're there's an homage to the zombie genre, but we're evolving it in this way. But this movie is very much through and through a comedy. And so there has to be this like kind of willful disregard of being too overly cool or serious at times. So sometimes a needle drop, especially if it's like really from the director's vision, can be very in that way. We worked on other projects that I won't dunk on anything specifically, but sometimes what it is there's a needle drop, which everybody likes and thinks is cool. And then realistically, nobody could ever afford it. And then at the very last minute, they have to replace it with something generic or a library track. And those tend to be parts that, from a music perspective, I cringe at a little bit. And I'm just like, oh man, like I know what the intention was here, and I understand the limitations of why it couldn't happen. But yeah, sometimes they fall a little flat.
One of my favorite needle drops, I mean, as we talked about this, is, and I think I would hope we all agree on this, is from Scream, and it's Red Right Hand. And that song is just so emblematic of that movie. And like every time I hear it, I think of Scream. I think they use it again in the sequels, maybe down the road, like in the newer ones. I can't remember. I haven't seen those as much as I've seen the first one. But that movie is just so like, the town's on curfew, and it's like you hear that. Was it like a death knell or something like that, like a anvil or something like that? It's like a big sound. I love that song. Every time I hear that song, I just go to that movie, and it's definitely a needle drop that I don't think takes you out of the film. I think it really helps sell the mood that they're trying to create. Yeah, that Wes was trying to create in that moment.
This has been top of my mind recently too, because I've just been watching Pluribus. Which I don't know if you guys have started watching.
I haven't seen it yet.
It's great. I won't spoil anything, but as with he had this with Breaking Bad too. The needle drops are so left to center and unexpected, but brilliant when they come in, and he's in such a cool way. So that's an example to me of a director that has a really specific vision of like what a song accomplishes in a scene, or how to play against a scene. And so it always feels like this is exactly what was intended. This isn't just like, let's try to broaden our demographic with a band.
Right. Another is Insidious, Tiptoe Through the Windows. That. I mean, that is such a creepy song. What's the guy who sings it?
Tiny Tim.
Tiny Tim. Wacko dude who's in a really shitty horror movie. But that song will now always represent Insidious. Like these songs get latched onto films, which is, I think, really neat when it happens.
Jumping off of that, what I should mention, honorable mention, is also I would say Maleficent. That's not the right word. Malignant is that the Pixies cover that just slams in whenever it's slow zooming on somebody realizing a part of the plot. It's like it's just like I really loved that movie's willful early 2000s feel. Yeah,
one of my favorite.
Go ahead.
You go ahead, Aaron. No.
I was going to say, when you're watching the movie Demons, and this movie is already going bananas, and then all of a sudden, a guy on a motorcycle with a samurai sword crashes into a movie theater full of zombies and accepts fast as a shark comes on. I was ready to try to tear the place apart. I was like, mosh pit. Or like when Phenomenon uses Iron Maiden just randomly. It's like, I don't know if they're inspired uses, but they get me so pumped I can't be mad at them. So I'm just Phenomenon, like, where's that monkey with the razor blade? Get some bugs, let's go. Like, I had no clue what to expect, but I love it when they just like randomly just cram metal into my face. I can't be mad.
Yes.
I
Yes,
have
please.
actually 2 examples. One is the ending of Rob Zombie's Devil's Rejects, where they play the entire
all of Freebird
10 minutes of Freebird, which to me is so perfect because these characters know they're driving to their death, which unfortunately they ruined that with 3 from Hell. But
that movie
me,
for 10 minutes, at first I'm like, they're not going to do 10 minutes. Oh, this is
they do it.
And then they do it for 10
entire...
minutes, and I go, actually, it's brilliant. Actually, brilliant. I was wrong. Hats off to you, Rob Zombie.
Yeah. And another one that I really love, and it's kind of doesn't really fit with the scene, but it also works. Strangers Pray at Night, when the pool fight scene, they play Total Eclipse of the Heart by Bonnie Tyler. It's just 2 opposites,
man.
Slasher pool fight scene and this heartbreak song ballad from the 80s, but it just works so perfectly together.
100%.
I mean, it's wild how a song could do something like that. You know, like the most recent I can think of is Stranger Things, Running Up That Hill. I mean, that song went from, you know, I knew that song pretty well just because I love that kind of music, to a pop phenomenon just a few years ago. And even if you play it now, like, people go, oh yeah, Stranger Things. You're like, no, the 80s. Like, this is a very famous song from back in the day.
Yeah.
And now it's just...
The funny thing is, I recognize more the Placebo new metal.
Oh,
version.
I love that version. That's one of my favorite versions.
That's like the one I heard
covers
first.
ever. Yeah. It was on the OC soundtrack. Come on.
Yeah, right. Man, a recent example of one just used really creatively that made me like fall out of my chair laughing was in Friendship, like the Tim Robinson movie. Have you guys seen this?
Yeah.
Okay, well, there's Slipknot needle drops in that film that are so offside and accompanied by some like unhinged camera work, and they're so unexpected each time that I like tears in my eyes each time that was done. So that felt like a very creative and intentional way to use the needle.
Now I have to see it.
It's a weird one.
Can't wait.
Oh man, is it ever? Yeah, prepare to crawl out of your skin with discomfort. It is.
I can't handle it. I can't handle that. I will.
Very cringe.
I will melt into my couch and pass out.
Yeah, fair.
Well, as usual, our half hour has been blown to a full hour.
Yeah, wow, man.
How did we do that? It just seems to happen every time. But Martin, thank you so much for coming on. Obviously, when you said, you know, how when you work on like Psycho Gorman and the Void, you're immediately like, hey, that's our people. I can tell that you are our people as well. Just love the craft, and love for cinema and movies and all that stuff. And we'd love to have you back on anytime you want to talk about something. If you have any movies in the future you want to promote, anything you just want us to promote in general, dude, we will always throw it up on social media for you because we love promoting friends of the show. Let people know where they can follow you. What are your social media handles? Give a plug for Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Yeah, man. So, I mean, we've got a few movies out right now. Recently, Deathstalker, wonderful. It feels like Conan the Barbarian by way of Army of Darkness. And Tina Ramirez, Queen of the Dead, which is a wonderful, a movie that she's made in her father's franchise. It's a wonderful, very fun movie. But the next thing, the big one, is Silent Night, Deadly Night, which is out on December 12th. The soundtrack will also be out everywhere, so you guys will be able to listen to it at that time. And yeah, I mean, to find us, most places it's just at Blitz Berlin. But if you Google Blitz Berlin, there's not many things named that. There's like a boutique in Berlin that sells clothes, but I think they've gone out of business now, so it's just us. So we're easy to find. But yeah, we've got a lot of music and a lot of films coming out. So thanks for having me on, guys. Really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks for all the success. Yeah. Congratulations on the movies, and hope to have you back again in the future. Chris, thanks for coming. Always a pleasure to have you on, man.
Yeah, definitely.
Where can people follow you? Got anything to plug?
You can follow me on Instagram at Call Me Carlson. And the only thing I got going on lately, I've been producing some content for TikTok for my friend's family business called Campanelli Home Care. They're a huge, I didn't even know what they were until recently, but they're a huge cleaning product company that sells a crap load of stuff on QVC and Home Shopping Network. And we've been making some really fun mafiosa type. We have a cleaner, and he has a POV camera of him always having to clean up the messes that his goons had been doing some hits and there's blood on the carpet and we needed to take care of it. But a good thing we have Campanelli cleaner at our disposal. And they're really funny, man.
That's
like
really
I'm just dipping my toes in the social media scene because I worked normally on TV and films and commercials and stuff like that. And we're getting like 100,000 views, like 150,000 views, like out of nowhere. And I'm like, this is awesome. This is some fun stuff.
Great concept for like a short film or something. Like there's
that's what we've been talking about that. We've been talking about that. So we get to like just I get to pitch ideas. Like I'm really having a good time with this. And we just we did a whole like horror series with like Michael Myers is one of the killers, and you need some cleaning product. And it's fun. It's a good time. So Campanelli Home Care, check us out on TikTok. We have a crap load of videos, and we're still making more. Pretty much every 2 weeks, we're making about 8 videos. It's a lot of fun.
Wow,
killer,
super fun. Cool. Chase.
Yes. So, Chris, of course, as always, thank you for coming on. Always
a pleasure. Thanks for the invite, Chase.
Martin, thank you so much for coming on. It was a pleasure talking to you, and come back again. Of course, you can see me here every Saturday with you, Aaron, on Half Hour of Horror. You can follow me at all my socials at Oh Hey It's Chase, and follow everything Block of Horror. See Silent Night, Deadly Night in theaters December 12th.
Yes.
Buy the soundtrack from Blitz Berlin when it comes out.
We need a blood coin keyword. We need a word. We got to come up with one word for today that our listeners can enter in to get some currency in the Block of Horror. Does anybody have an idea for one single word that could really contain what today's theme was?
Is needle drop one word? Diegetic? Do you know how to spell that?
Diegetic.
Oh, I like that.
Diagetic.
There we go.
Diagetc. Die.
I thought so.
Is it?
Die.
Oh, you might be right. It's
GETIC.
Yes.
There it is.
You got it.
Yeah.
Right.
Martin's music would be non-diegetic.
Usually, although with Kostansky movies, we're making the music on the radio too.
The reason that the reason it makes is because it says die.
There we go.
It's horror themed.
Ooh, you can't go diegetic without die. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. So diegetic, yes, the music that is within the scene. If somebody turns on the radio and the music comes out of it, that is diegetic sound.
That's an educational episode.
Next we'll get into mise en scène. Don't even worry.
Yeah, dude. Well, leitmotifs. A leitmotif is a musical motif. It's called a very That's all my film school knowledge.
There you go.
I am a proud film school nerd myself, so I do love it when we can get into it's the equivalent of me using the Pythagorean theorem. It's like I spent all this money to go to film school, and now I get to talk about diegetic sound.
Finally, trigonometry finally came in handy.
Yeah. All right, guys. As we said, Block of Horror, all things social. You can check out me here on Saturday at the Half Hour or my other podcast, the Launchpad Podcast. We're back. We're talking about the Funhouse, Tobe Hooper's classic slasher, which my host Matt loves and I like less.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one, Aaron.
Yeah, it's a weird one, but hey, we'll get into some of that. And we'll check you here next week on the Half Hour of Horror. Thanks again.
Sounds great. See you.